Hello, my name is Tony Morbin with ISMG, and I'm delighted to be here today with Dr. Fene Asakwe, a best-selling author, board member at Forbes Technology Council, and general cybersecurity leader. Fene, delighted to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Now, I saw on your presentation earlier that you were in pen testing a while back. How did you get into cybersecurity? What's your journey to where you are now?
So two things. So let's talk about the motivation and the journey. So the motivation was I got hacked. So I was sleeping on a Sunday morning somewhere in Africa, and I got an alert that I had been debited with about $4,000 then. And at this time, I just came out of college. Now, so I got the alert in the morning and I go, ooh, maybe this is the delayed SMS coming in. And then before I knew it, the second one came and the third one came and I just completely lose it, right? And then I go to the bank and then we have all these conversations, and this is like, 12, 15 years ago. And they show me some of these very tiny things that we sign up to when we open bank accounts. And they say there's no liability, that I suffered a cyber attack. I said, what does that even mean? This is 15, 20 years ago. And so journey started. I started, like you said, I started with Deloitte. I was a penetration tester. I did that for, I think, close to about 60, 70 companies across the world. So I did with Deloitte Nigeria, Ghana, Netherlands, and a few other countries across the world. And then matured from there, grew into the manager role, went to lead a company called IHS. After some stint with a telecom company called MTN, I was tasked in IHS. The boss said, we want to grow this company to list on the New York Stock Exchange in 2 years. And your job is to mature the cybersecurity function from where we are now, which was pretty much not great, to being a New York Stock Exchange listed company. And you have 2 years. And so, my work was cut out for me. Everybody told me this is a bad career move for you. But hey, did that, eventually got listed, matured the function, grew up to that level, got on Forbes Council because it's an invitation-only place for technology executives. And then my thought leadership, I began to put out a lot of thought leadership because of the vast experience I had. And so now I get to be invited to speak at conferences like this. I'm in Netherlands in a few days' time. I'm in Dubai. I'm in Nigeria in a few days from then. So I get to put out a lot of thoughts. So that really is my journey. And I think it's really just a journey of speed, one of resilience, because you need that in cybersecurity. And I'm hoping to retire soon because I cannot keep up with the threats anymore.
Excellent. So we're now at the strategy level. So what are the key elements of a cybersecurity strategy, and what should you be trying to address?
So in my opinion, I think that there are four, maybe three. I try to always put it in very simple buckets, 3 ingredients that should make up the cybersecurity soup, if you like. So the first is identify and protect. The general thing I have found is that you cannot protect what you don't know. So the first thing is, what are all the assets of this organization? If you don't have that view, I promise you, almost all the time where we did a penetration testing and we broke into a client's, either their server or their network, it was a system they had no clue was still available online, most of the time. So identify, then protect. Protect simply means after I have known what my assets are, what processes, policies, and technology do I then put in place to protect it? So this is where you begin to talk about access management and all these sort of things. Multi-factor authentication, great, protect. The second piece I think you then need is to be able to detect, because you need to understand that some things will pass through, but you need the second layer to be able to detect them. The third layer is then you cannot assume that you will detect everything. And the theory with cyber is defense in depth. So you need to be able to recover if there is a breach and be able to respond. So I think those are the key ingredients. And I think that generally, a cybersecurity strategy for the companies I advise and I work with now, I no longer do cybersecurity strategies. I do cyber resilience strategies, because it's no longer, security is, I don't want to concede a goal. I don't want to concede a goal. That's cybersecurity strategy. Nobody should come in. Nobody should come in. Resilience is, even if you come in and you score a goal, I still want to win the football match, right? So even though someone comes into the organization, we need to be able to make sure that the business can still go ahead and achieve the objectives. So those would be my elements for a cyber resilience strategy.
So let's go from strategy to operational level. Right. They've scored a goal. They have breached your system. What are the practical things you can do?
Oh, yeah. So I have worked as the CISO in a company that we got hacked. That's not a great thing to say, but it's the truth. So the first thing to do, there are a lot of things in the textbooks, but I would speak from a very practical perspective. The first thing to do is stop the bleeding. And what that means is pretty much like you have an emergency on your hand. The child is bleeding or the patient is bleeding. First, stop the bleeding. Then we could have the other conversations around. So stop the bleeding, which means do your containment. Make sure that you do the containment. The second piece I think is important is be honest with your customers about what happened. Explain to them exactly what happened. Third, tell them what you're doing to make sure that it does not repeat itself again. The fourth piece, which not everybody does, but I advise my clients to do it, is can you start a cyber initiative from your experience? So for example, if you suffered a ransomware attack, can you begin to create some sort of thought leadership or some sort of information for smaller companies to be able to protect themselves from a threat that happened to you? That way, sort of seen as CSR. So those are my thoughts.
That's excellent. Fene, really great to hear your insight. I'm Tony Morbin for ISMG. I've been talking to Fene Asakwe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.